Now before we get into the video, I do want to say a massive thank you to today's video sponsors, and once again that is jerseyfifa.com. They really do help keep the content on this channel going, and they even sent me a free shirt which you can see on screen here. And as you can see, I got the new Manchester United home kit, and genuinely the kit really is top quality. I highly recommend their product. So make sure to get in a link in the description down below, and now if you use code JerseyFifa at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. You get a great football shirt, and you help support the channel, which I really do appreciate massively. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel. I hope you're all well and you're having a good week. Well, actually this is going up on Saturday, so I hope you had a good week, and I hope you have an even better weekend. And what better way to start it than talking about this man up here. Now, earlier in the week we were talking about that guy over there, Anthony. We're talking about his strengths as a player and how he would fit into this Manchester United team if he was to sign for the club. So what we're doing today is essentially part 2 of that video, and we're going to be talking about Cody Gakpo, his strengths as a footballer and how he fits into this Manchester United team. And straight away, I think one thing we all know is that his position is as a left winger. So it would be Marcus Rashford that is making way for him to come into the team. And instantly, I'm not sure naturally that works as a tactical fit. Now what we know that Erik ten Hag has been asking his wingers to do early on in the season is hold quite a high and wide starting position. So what the fullbacks are doing is they're both tucking in here, and then the wingers are really stretching the pitch like this, making them always an easy passing option for the player on the ball. And just instantly, that's not necessarily how Cody Gakpo likes to play, and actually we can see that if we look at his heat map. Where here, he is very much a left winger, he does start on this side, but if you look, he's very much moving more into this area here. So he does play a little bit out wide, but very much the concentration is on this slightly more central area. So instantly, perhaps that doesn't work in terms of system of how Erik ten Hag has been setting up so far. Although perhaps it does potentially hint to a change of system, and we could see United building possession in a bit more of a back three, something like this here, with the left back on this side now pushing further forward and allowing Gakpo to come into this area, and that could be something that Ten Hag has in mind. But in terms of naturally, do I think he is a winger that wants to hold the width for his side? Not really, and like I said, it is backed up when we look at this here. But if this is something that Erik chooses to do, and he chooses to set up more in his system, I do think that could be quite a good move, because Gakpo is a very intelligent player, and he's excellent at getting into these pockets of space. If we imagine the defenders in the team here, so we've got the defenders there. Now, this is the area that Cody Gakpo very much likes to get into, in this little gap between 4 players here. And it's just a nice little pocket of space for him to pick the ball up, and that is where he then really comes to life, if he is able to get the ball in these areas. Because he stands at about 6'2" tall, and he also has a good first touch and good acceleration, it means that he's often able to get the ball here, and even if he does get pressured, then he has 1, the technical ability, but 2, the physical attributes to kind of burst forward into this area, from where he is then a very effective player. Now, one thing he'll look to do is link up with his striker, so let's say it was Anthony Martial operating as a deep lying forward, then he would look to bounce passes off Martial to then get in behind the defence, and that is something that could work quite nicely. On top of that, he has that creative side to play a through ball for Martial, and also what he likes to do is kind of float a cross up towards the back post, which again could suit someone like Martial, or perhaps Bruno Fernandes as a late runner into the box. And then on top of that, he also has a very good finishing ability, and actually I've got the numbers to prove it. If we go to info goal stats here, we can see that his expected goals for last season was 8.85, and he managed to score 12 in the Eredivisie all of last season combined, and he got 12 goals, overperforming by just over 3 expected goals, and that is about what you're looking for when you're signing a player. If a player is hitting their expected goals dead on, then that means they're pretty average. If they're massively over exceeding it, then it can be a little bit worrying, because it may just be a purple patch. But when you're overperforming by about 2 or 3 goals, that's a very good sign, because 1, you are better than the average finisher, but you're not overperforming so much that it's a purple patch. These are numbers that he can sustain. So that is a good sign, and he is a good finisher. And arguably, just in general, his end product is better than Marcus Rashford at the moment. Now, 2 years ago, that wasn't necessarily the case, because Rashford was a very good finisher, a very good chance creator, and he had a really good link up with Luke Shaw actually at left back. But over the past 18 months or so, something has happened, and he's not the same player. And Gakpo, apart from not being quite as quick, almost seems to have become what Rashford should be. He's very strong on the ball, he's got that tall frame, he's got quick feet, good technical quality, and also he does still have that burst of pace and ability to get into here. Like I said, the main issue is that he wants to come into this zone here, rather than necessarily playing out wide, which may naturally suit the system a bit more. But he is still young, so perhaps that is something that Ten Hag could work around. There's also something else that could work quite nicely with Gakpo, and it's something that we've seen from United in training clips in pre-season, and also the pre-season games, and a little bit in the Premier League. and that is where they are building possession down one side of the pitch to really draw the opposition over. And we can see that here. If United are building possession down one side of the pitch here, then it does force the defence to gravitate over to the side to defend it. And this is where Gakpo could be useful on the left wing for two different reasons. Now, one reason he could be used is, let's say Sancho's got the ball here, is for Gakpo to attack crosses at the back stick. Now, at 6 foot tall, he could become, or over 6 foot tall I should say, he could become a bit of a wide target man, drifting into this area. Now, last time I checked, he hadn't actually scored a goal in the Eredivisie with his head, so this is an area that he needs to work on. But when he is 6 foot 2, naturally he does have a bit of a height advantage over opposition fullbacks. So perhaps that is something that we could see developing at Manchester United. The other thing is United can work possession down this side and then use Gakpo more as an isolation winger, where you work the ball down this side, drag the defence over like we were saying, and then quickly switch the ball out to Cody Gakpo. And this is actually very similar to what PSV done during the first leg against Rangers in the Champions League qualifier. We regularly saw Gakpo getting in this area, and then James Tavernier, a very decent player, would regularly try and get touch tight to him. And Gakpo almost seems to bait defenders in with his first touch. He takes this first touch which makes you think you can get there, because he often receives the ball on the back foot. Now typically, let's say it was Sancho in this position. When Sancho receives the ball on the back foot, that's the invitation to pressure him and force him backwards, and that has been an issue for United. However, Gakpo is slightly different. So when Gakpo gets in the ball in this area, again he receives the ball on his back foot, but it's what he does after that that is really impressive. He draws the defender in and then he can either take the ball in here, powering past them, or he does also have the ability to go down the line. And I think that's something we need to see more, because he can go both ways. So if he can add more unpredictability to his game, then it's going to be even harder for defenders to deal with. But like I said, he is really good in this area, just baiting a player in and then beating them, either inside to get into a goal scoring situation himself, or out wide to perhaps create a chance. And that is something that we could see more. Manchester United using isolation wingers, Gakpo could be coached into that role. Now, for that role to work, for Gakpo to develop into an isolation winger, then I think he needs some work. I don't think he's there yet. But perhaps something that he does already have and could almost do instantly is act as a bit of an outball for Manchester United. And actually, since watching that Liverpool game, we could certainly see that working. So, Gakpo doesn't necessarily like to track too much into these defensive areas, and of course that can be a concern. Again, if we go back to that first leg of the Rangers game, Tavernier was getting into these areas quite a lot, and he did get some good chances, and I believe he got an assist. However, what it does do, is it does leave Gakpo a lot of room to attack going the other way. This area here. He now has a lot of room to get at, to pick up the ball, and then really drive at the defence, or even make the run off the ball. And Gakpo could be used in that way, and it's something similar to what we saw in the game against Liverpool. Sancho on the right hand side was perhaps a little more reserved, tucking in here, but then Anthony Elanga in the first half, and then Marcus Rashford in the second half, was left to play a little bit higher to exploit the space in behind. So you almost invite the right back forward a little bit, because you know that you can then exploit them. And this is where Gakpo could be really good, because his runs off the ball are brilliant. And like I said, Rashford done it brilliantly against Liverpool, although at times Rashford does lack the end product and the decision making a little bit. Whereas Gakpo, to me, seems better in that area already. So he could be used as this outball to then deliver that final ball either to Martial, or to carry the ball forward and slot the ball into the back of the net. And for that reason, I think it could work quite nicely. So particularly maybe in the bigger games, we could see Gakpo brought into the team for what he offers on the counter-attack. Or perhaps we could see Gakpo and Rashford playing in the same side. So overall, for these reasons, I do think that Cody Gakpo would be a pretty good signing. Especially considering the fact that PSV didn't qualify for the Champions League this week as they lost to Rangers, which will obviously bring Gakpo's price down a little bit, making him probably about £35 million for Manchester United to get this summer. And in this current market, when Anthony Gordon is about £60 million, £35 million for any winger seems like a pretty good price. So this is a transfer that I would certainly be pursuing if I was Manchester United. Now, I wouldn't do it instead of Anthony. If I had a choice between the two, I would go for Anthony because United have struggled on the right wing over the past few seasons. However, if the option there is to get both of them, then I certainly would, because I think they both offer something a little bit different to what Sancho and Rashford do, and that gives Ten Hag plenty of different attacking profiles and options for the course of the season. If United do well in the Europa League or in the Cup competitions, they should be playing close to 60 matches this season, so they will need no rotation, especially when players like Sancho and Rashford can be known to get injuries. So if possible, I would look to bring both of these players in. I think they fit into the system already to an extent, but I also think they both have areas where Erik Ten Hag can improve them, and that is the sort of transfer that United need to make. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you could only have one of these two players, who would you pick? And if given the option, would you have both of them? And also, how much game time do you think they would get? Because obviously Sancho and Rashford are going to provide plenty of competition, especially off the back of that Liverpool game where they were both brilliant. So how much game time do you think the 4 wingers would get? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know what you think what they're worth. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. All of that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.